You're listening to Big World Network.
Just Kill Me, Season 3, Episode 12, Talia and Lars Come Clean. Written by Wendy Herman. Read by Wendy Herman. I grabbed her shoulders and shook her gently to make her look at me, but she just started unbuttoning my pants. I wanted her more than anything, but not like this. Her touch was so electrifying, though, that I closed my eyes for a split second, unable to prevent myself from enjoying it. I hesitated too long, and her fingers traveled around to my back, just inside the waistband of my jockeys. I shivered. She started to slowly remove my pants, and my eyes shot open, and I knew I had to stop her, as much as I loathed the thought. I shook her again. Freya, look at me. My pants were now down around my knees, and she was reaching for the jockeys when I grabbed her hands. She looked at me, confused, with those unsettling dark eyes. Freya. I decided to take a chance, and holding both her hands in one, I reached with the other for the sink. I turned on the cold water and let it run over my fingers for a few seconds. Then I flicked some cold water right in her face. She blinked several times, and I let go of her hands so she could wipe her eyes. When she looked at me again, her eyes were back to normal, but now they were filled with surprise and anger. Ty, what the hell? Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Why did you do that? I was trying to bring you back. Back? What are you talking about? Freya, you were spazzing out again. But this time it was a good kind of spazzing out. In fact, if you have to spaz out, this is definitely the kind of spazzing out you... Ty! Stop saying that word. Sorry. I wasn't spazzing out. I remember pushing you in here and kissing you, and... Just then she looked down at my pants. Whoa, how did your pants get like that? You did that. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. She paused for a moment. And you stopped me? She sounded surprised and a little impressed. I nodded. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. If you two are doing what I think you're doing in there, shame on you. Talia's voice, just above a whisper, sounded through the crack of the door. I quickly put myself back together, and Freya opened the door. Talia stood there with a mischievous smile on her face, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. What do you have to say for yourselves? She asked. We were doing exactly what you think we were doing, Freya said dryly. Sorry I interrupted, but you might consider doing the dirty deed in the downstairs bathroom so the boys don't hear you, she joked. We plan to do it in every room, but first we have to talk to you. Freya left the bathroom, grabbing Talia's arm and pulling her along with her, and headed down the stairs like a woman on a mission. I was still stunned by the every room comment, and had to take a few deep breaths before I could follow. I had no idea what had happened in the upstairs bathroom, but I pushed it to the back of my brain as I led Talia by the arm down the steps and into the dining room. She gave Lars a mock save-me look, and he stopped picking up toys in the living room to follow us. He's picking up? If this guy really is a spy, he's downright diabolical, I thought. Ty was close behind Lars, and after we were all seated at the table, I opened my mouth to lead the questioning, but Talia cut me off. What are you two going to do? Ty can't stay here. That might be a little hard to explain to the boys in the morning. I had been focused on the task at hand until Talia threw that wrench at me. I looked at Ty and my heart skipped a beat. How did he get better looking by the minute? It was very distracting. He grinned at me and that accursed dimple peeked out just to torment me. I opened my mouth but wasn't sure what to say. We hadn't really discussed that yet, Ty offered. We'll figure it out, I said, not looking forward to doing so. What we really want to talk about is why you two can speak fluent Russian. That got everyone's undivided attention. Ty was beaming at me, and I couldn't imagine having to turn him away later. Couldn't bear the thought, but I had to concentrate. Instead of answering my question, Talia started speaking to Lars in Russian. I wasn't sure if she knew Ty spoke the language as well, or if she was just playing with us. Ty translated aloud. I think our nice evening has just turned into an interrogation, my dear. Lars chuckled and responded in Russian. Again, Ty translated. Is it time, then? Time? Time for what? Why had I left my firearm in the lockbox in my bedroom? Talia nodded, but neither of them made a move for a concealed weapon, so I talked myself out of the takedown move I was running through my head, assuming Ty and I could even take Lars together. I was staring at his enormous biceps when Ty spoke. Just tell us the truth. The deception ends here. Either you're on our side or you're not. If you are, let's talk. If you're not, well, then we have a problem. Damn, that was sexy. Shit. Focus, Freya. We're most definitely on your side, and the Russian thing is really nothing to get your panties in a bundle about, Talia started, but I wasn't going to let her downplay this. Okay, I said, but I learned Russian a long time ago, when I was in the CIA. I knew it! Ty broke in, startling us all. You were a CIA agent? I asked. Yes, until 2004. Then I left and became sort of a gun for hire. Your dad found me through a friend, and I took the job to protect you 3 years ago. Well, that last part I already knew, so you had no knowledge of anything else before my father hired you. Anything about me or Ty? No, nothing but your name and address. Why did you leave the CIA? Ty wanted to know. Tired of the bullshit. Ty and I both instinctively nodded, as if we knew exactly what she was talking about. Then I realized I did know exactly what she was talking about. I was living the bullshit. I turned to Lars. Where did you learn Russian, Lars? He cleared his throat and glanced at Talia, then back at me. Goddess, he started in his thick Swedish accent. I was KGB. I'm sorry? Ty turned his whole body to Lars, subconsciously reaching for a gun on his side that wasn't there. Had we both sat down to an interrogation of 2 possible Russian spies, unarmed, and with my 3 children snoring upstairs? We were idiots. Lars brought his hand up in defense. That was a long time ago, Agent Ripley. Ty remained tense. Talk. Lars took a deep breath. My family was poor. The KGB came to my town promising money and excitement, and I went with them. I was barely 16. I did what they told me, bad things. But I have money to send home to my parents, my sisters, until Russia wasn't Russia anymore. Then an American comes, recruiting, asking who will turn on the Russians, and I went, because the KGB was not good to me, and I believed America was where I was supposed to go. I worked for the CIA, and one day I met my own goddess. He looked up at Talia, then a faraway look in his eyes, and she smiled at him and blushed. Wow, Talia was blushing. Best day of my life, when Talia and I were married. He reached across the table for her, and she gave him her hand. I was so shocked it almost escaped my attention. Wait, I snapped out of it. You 2 are married? For 6 years now, Talia said dreamily. Ty was unable to think past the intensely romantic moment we were in. So are you still CIA? No, Agent Ripley, Lars replied, not breaking eye contact with his wife? Wife. I retired 4 years ago when my beautiful wife became pregnant. Talia wasn't one for sappy sentiment, and finished for Lars before I could ask another question, the main one being the obvious absence of a child in their lives. Okay, folks, here's the synopsis. I got pregnant. We were ecstatic and both decided to retire. God knows we have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. But then I lost the pregnancy, and our plans all fell apart. Lars had already officially retired from the CIA, so when Jerry found me and offered me this job, we decided it was the right thing to do. We decided to maintain the facade of me being a divorcee. More flexibility, I guess, until I needed his help. That's when he took the job at the Y, and I was able to touch him in public again. She grinned at her husband, still clutching his hand across the table. Why did you need his help? Ty asked. What? Talia asked. You said you kept him hidden until you needed his help. With what? Her smile grew, and Lars was radiating back at her, and I knew. Talia was pregnant. Suddenly I was in a panic. Tal, your concussion! Trevor hit you so hard, and you flew across... She cut me off. Everything is fine, Freya. She's just fine. She? I asked, elated that my best friend was going to be a mommy, and forgetting that I had sat down to accuse her of being a foreign spy not 5 minutes earlier. What's going on? Ty asked. Men. Just as I opened my mouth to spell it out for the testosterone challenged in the room, there was a loud noise from the kitchen, and then the front door. It sounded like someone was trying to break down both doors simultaneously. The 4 of us, all government-trained killers, leapt out of our chairs and sprinted out of the room. Lars and I were closest to the kitchen, and the other 2 headed to the front door. The Swede and I were just hitting the entryway as several men in suits came busting through my back door, all armed, and not a one of them looking like Ed McMahon there to tell me I'd just won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Lars managed to disarm the first few who tried to shove a gun barrel in his face, but there were just too many. I stood there frozen, hands in the air, surrounded by nameless suits, all aiming their weapons at my head. I wasn't sure who these minions were, but all I could think of was my 3 sleeping angels upstairs. Then a familiar face came through the door, and my heart sank. He was impeccably dressed, more so than I'd ever seen him, and raised a handheld 2-way radio to his mouth. "We've got him," was all he said to whoever was listening on the other end. Then he looked at me and smiled, and I felt like I was going to be sick. "Hello, Freya," he said, and it almost sounded genuine, but I knew better. I would never trust this man again as long as I lived. I stood there and glared at him with all my might, willing his head to explode, but nothing happened, except that he chuckled. Jackass. If looks could kill, another chuckle. Come on, Freya, I'm the good guy. There is so much you don't know, and your friends are not who they say they are. It was infantile, but I went with it anyway. Go to hell, Trevor.
You're listening to Big World Network.